I wrote the full storytelling script in plain English, with no headings inside the story and designed for emotional narration. Writing. Have you ever seen someone lose everything in a courtroom, and then walk out with more dignity than the people who took it from him? The day Michael Carter left divorce court, people whispered that his life was over. His house was gone. His savings were gone. His reputation had been dragged through months of painful arguments. As he stepped through the courthouse doors carrying a single worn briefcase, even strangers felt sorry for him. What nobody knew was that within the next hour, something extraordinary would happen. Something that would leave everyone standing outside that courthouse completely speechless. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to Echoes of Stories, like this video, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Stories of kindness remind us that even in our darkest moments, hope can still find a way to shine. Michael stood quietly on the courthouse steps while people streamed past him. The final divorce ruling had been read only minutes earlier. His ex-wife, Vanessa, had walked away with the family home, most of their assets, and nearly everything they had built together over 15 years. Friends told Michael to fight harder. Some said the settlement was unfair. Others encouraged him to make things ugly in court. But Michael refused. He was a father first. The last thing he wanted was for his 12-year-old daughter, Emma, to spend years watching her parents destroy each other. So he signed the papers. Now he stood alone under the bright afternoon sun with little more than a briefcase and a tired smile. As people passed by, Michael noticed an elderly janitor struggling to push a heavy cleaning cart toward the courthouse entrance. Without hesitation, Michael walked over. "Need a hand?" he asked. The old man looked surprised. "You just came out of divorce court," he said. Most folks would be too busy feeling sorry for themselves. Michael smiled gently. Everybody needs help sometimes. Together they pushed the cart inside. The janitor thanked him repeatedly. Michael simply nodded and continued outside. A few minutes later, he spotted a young mother trying to carry groceries while managing two energetic children. One of the bags split open, sending food across the sidewalk. Again, Michael stepped forward. He helped gather the groceries. He carried the bags to her car. The woman thanked him with tears in her eyes. "You don't even know me," she said. Michael shrugged. Kindness doesn't require introductions. The woman smiled and drove away. What nobody standing there knew was that Michael had lived his entire life that way. Years earlier, when he was still a struggling mechanic, he often repaired cars for people who couldn't afford the full bill. He quietly paid utility bills for elderly neighbors. He donated school supplies to children whose families were struggling. He never posted about it online. He never wanted recognition. He simply believed that helping others was the right thing to do. As Michael sat on a nearby bench wondering where life would take him next, a distant sound echoed through the sky. At first, nobody paid much attention. But the sound grew louder. People began looking upward. A helicopter was approaching. It circled once before descending toward an open field across from the courthouse. Traffic slowed. Pedestrians stopped walking. Everyone stared. The helicopter landed smoothly. The spinning blade sent dust swirling through the air. Several people pulled out their phones to record. The door opened. A sharply dressed man stepped out. He looked around until he spotted Michael sitting on the bench. Then he began walking quickly toward him. Michael looked confused. The man approached and smiled. "Mr. Carter?" Michael stood. "Yes?" The stranger extended his hand. "My name is Daniel Brooks." Michael shook it politely. "I'm sorry," Michael said. "Have we met?" Daniel laughed softly. "You met my father." Michael searched his memory. "I don't understand." Daniel's eyes filled with emotion. 3 years ago, my father broke down on a highway outside Denver. Suddenly, Michael remembered. An older man stranded in the cold. A broken engine. No nearby help. Michael had spent nearly 6 hours repairing the vehicle. When the man offered money, Michael refused. Instead, he bought him dinner before sending him safely on his way. "You were that man's son?" Michael asked. Daniel nodded. "My father never stopped talking about you." Michael smiled. "I'm glad he's doing well." Daniel became quiet. "My father passed away 6 months ago." Michael lowered his head respectfully. "I'm sorry." Before his death, Daniel explained, his father shared one final request. He wanted Daniel to find the mechanic who helped him. The man who expected nothing in return. The man who restored his faith in people. Michael listened silently. Daniel continued. "My father happened to own a successful aviation company." Michael looked surprised. Daniel smiled. "He left specific instructions. He wanted part of his estate invested in someone he believed truly deserved a second chance." The crowd around them had grown larger. Everyone listened. Even Vanessa, who had not yet left the courthouse parking lot, stood frozen nearby. Daniel reached into a leather folder. Inside were documents. He handed them to Michael. "What is this?" Michael asked. Daniel grinned. "It's ownership shares in the company. A position on our leadership team. And enough financial support to help you rebuild your life." Michael stared in disbelief. The crowd gasped. His hands trembled slightly. "I can't accept this." Daniel shook his head. "Actually, you can." He pointed toward the helicopter. "My father believed kindness creates ripples. Years ago, you helped a stranger on a lonely highway. Today, that kindness has returned." Tears filled Michael's eyes. For a moment, he couldn't speak. Then he looked around at the crowd. The same people who had pitied him an hour earlier were now witnessing something remarkable. Not because he had become wealthy. Not because a helicopter had landed. But because years of quiet kindness had finally come full circle. A week later, Michael moved into a modest home. He remained humble. He continued helping neighbors. He continued volunteering. He continued teaching Emma that character mattered more than possessions. One evening, Emma asked him a question. "Dad, were you scared when you left court with nothing?" Michael smiled. "Of course I was." "Then why weren't you angry?" He looked at his daughter. "Because kindness is never wasted. Sometimes you see the results quickly. Sometimes it takes years. But every act of kindness leaves a mark somewhere." Emma never forgot those words. Neither did the people who witnessed that helicopter landing. Because the real miracle wasn't the inheritance. The real miracle was the reminder that kindness matters even when nobody is watching. Every door you hold open, every stranger you help, every moment of compassion you choose creates a ripple that travels farther than you can imagine. You may never know whose life you're changing. And one day, when you need hope the most, those ripples may find their way back to you. So choose kindness. Not because you're expecting a reward. But because the world becomes brighter every time someone decides to care. And sometimes, the smallest act of kindness can change a life forever. This version is approximately 1,000 words and optimized for an emotional YouTube storytelling narration. I can continue the story as part 2, picking up after Michael receives the company shares and the helicopter leaves. Writing. 3 months passed after the unforgettable day outside the courthouse. Michael's life had changed dramatically, but not in the way most people expected. The financial security from Daniel's company had given him stability, yet Michael still woke up every morning with the same habits he had before. He still greeted strangers. He still helped neighbors. And every Friday evening, he and Emma volunteered at a local community center. One rainy afternoon, Michael was leaving a company meeting when he noticed a young woman sitting alone on a bench outside the building. She looked worried. Her clothes were soaked from the rain. In her hands was a folder filled with papers. Most people hurried past without stopping. Michael almost entered his car. Then he remembered how many times someone had needed help and how often people looked the other way. He walked over. "Are you okay?" he asked. The woman quickly wiped her eyes. "I'm fine." But her voice said otherwise. Michael sat beside her. After a few moments, she finally spoke. "My name is Sarah. I came here for a job interview." "What happened?" She looked down. "They hired someone else." Michael nodded sympathetically. "That can be tough." Sarah laughed bitterly. "It's more than that." She explained that she had recently lost her apartment. Her mother was sick. Her savings were almost gone. The interview had been her last hope. Michael listened quietly. He didn't interrupt. He didn't judge. When she finished, he handed her a business card. "Come see me tomorrow." Sarah looked confused. "Why?" "Because I think we might have a position that fits your skills." The next morning, Sarah arrived at the company. After reviewing her experience, Michael offered her a job. The young woman burst into tears. "You don't even know me." Michael smiled. "Someone once believed in me when they didn't have to." Sarah worked harder than anyone expected. Within months, she became one of the company's most valuable employees. Her mother received proper medical treatment. She found a new apartment. For the first time in years, her future looked bright. Meanwhile, Emma was growing into a remarkable young woman. One day at school, she noticed a classmate named Tyler sitting alone during lunch. Other students often teased him because his family struggled financially. Remembering her father's lessons, Emma sat beside him. Soon they became friends. When winter arrived, Emma discovered Tyler didn't own a warm coat. Without telling anyone, she used money she had saved from birthdays and chores to buy him one. The following week, Tyler showed up wearing the coat. His smile stretched from ear to ear. Years later, Tyler would tell people that simple act changed his life. For the first time, he felt seen. For the first time, he believed someone cared. Michael was proud when he learned what Emma had done. Not because she had spent money, but because she had chosen compassion. One evening, Daniel Brooks invited Michael to attend a charity fundraiser. Business leaders from across the state gathered in a grand ballroom. As guests mingled, Michael noticed a familiar face across the room. It was the elderly janitor he had helped outside the courthouse months earlier. The old man seemed uncomfortable among the wealthy crowd. Michael immediately walked over and greeted him warmly. The janitor smiled. "I never expected to see you here." Michael laughed. "Neither did I." The two spent much of the evening talking. Later that night, one of the event organizers approached Michael. "You know who that man is?" Michael shook his head. The organizer smiled. "He founded one of the largest charitable foundations in the region." Michael stared in surprise. The organizer continued. "He sold his business years ago and now donates millions to community projects." Michael looked across the room at the humble old man. He hadn't known. And honestly, it hadn't mattered. He helped him because he needed help. Nothing more. Nothing less. That moment reminded Michael of an important truth. You never know who someone is. You never know what battle they're fighting. And you never know how deeply a simple act of kindness can affect them. As the years passed, Michael's company expanded. More importantly, the company's culture changed. Employees were encouraged to volunteer. Scholarship programs were created. Emergency funds were established for workers facing hardship. What began as one man's kindness slowly spread through hundreds of lives. One day, while standing in his office overlooking the city, Michael received a letter. There was no return address. Inside was a handwritten note. It read, "Dear Mr. Carter. You don't remember me. 5 years ago, you helped my mother pick up groceries outside a courthouse. I was one of the children with her that day. I watched everything. I watched you stop when nobody else did. That moment stayed with me. Today I graduated from college and accepted my first teaching job. I want to spend my life helping people because of what I saw that afternoon. Thank you for showing me what kindness looks like." Michael read the letter twice. Then he quietly folded it and placed it in his desk drawer. Of all the awards he had received, none meant more than those words. Because they confirmed what he had always believed. Kindness is never truly lost. It travels from person to person. Heart to heart. Generation to generation. And sometimes the greatest rewards are the ones you never see coming. The helicopter that landed outside the courthouse changed Michael's circumstances. But it was kindness that changed countless lives afterward. And in the end, that became his greatest legacy. Because wealth can disappear. Success can fade. But a single act of kindness can echo forever.